So I'll tell you, the things they want to talk about, the things I want to talk about are kind of crazy. It's stupid stuff in Jeff's head for 200, Alex. What are we talking about, Jeff?
Dang. Well, hey, everybody. How's it going? My name is Geoff Landon. You already know that. Shoot, if you're already here, it is March 16th, start of March Madness. Oh, my God. So, yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in basketball. I'm not going to cover a whole lot of that unless it has to do with the Badgers. Well, shouldn't say that. Marquette is a number 2 seed. So where do you got them going? Could they win it all? I mean, shoot. Oh, my gosh, they could win it all. Really? I mean, it's possible, I guess. They're saying there's a lot of ways that it could go. I don't know. Getting into it, you guys, we've got a whole bunch of stuff right here. This is What Are We Talking About, Jeff? Yeah, this is the show where anything that's on my mind kind of comes up. It's been a week, guys. We've missed you. So we just want to say thank you for watching. Surely want to get into some cool stuff today. Today we're going to talk about birthdays. We're going to talk about some of the sports. We're going to run right through the sports in our first 20 minutes. And of course, in our second 20 minutes, I've got a comment video like my friend Brett Cooper would do, but to something I like, and that's cars, everybody. There was a neat video out by a group called Ideal Media. We're going to be looking at that in our second half. So stick around with us on that. But in our first half, I want to say happy birthday right off the bat to some people you should know. That's right. Happy birthday to Dennis Peters, the lead singer of the glam band. Ooh. Dennis Lee Roth. And you might know him from Sonic Circus. Great singer out of the Fox Valley. Tommy Salen, former guitar player of Tuscan Road out here in Wisconsin, playing with Dylan Schneider these days, who's got a nice little main stage at the CMA Fest with Dylan Schneider this year. So that's going to be pretty awesome for him. Christina Meyer. If you don't know, you should know. Christina Meyer is a great writer from Wisconsin. She took up the mantle of being a coordinator here for the NSAI, Nashville Songwriters Association. So happy birthday to you. Wes Kuhn, the Northern or Central Wisconsin racer. Happy birthday to you this week. And of course, Chris Finch, the guitar player, good friend of mine. Mike Karch, owner and venue extraordinaire at Melody Mill, and of course Miss Augusta Ray, who I was lucky enough to meet. She's a Canadian country, and the weird thing is she's Canadian, but we'll call it Americana. She has her own brand of kind of rock blend, good songwriter, and very Fleetwood Mac-ish, I guess is the term. So happy birthday to all of you out there, and to some of my friends. Jamie Schmelzer, happy birthday to you. Mary Beth Severin, happy birthday to you. I can go down the list. There's a whole bunch of them, but happy birthday, y'all. So that's pretty cool. So the Badgers are in the NIT. Let's start right away with the sports and dive right into it. Stephen Crowell, what a job he did. I believe he got a career-high 36 points, 5 threes, and turning into that center we hope we get. This is the thing, it's such a young team now, and after showing that well in the first game of the NIT, oh man, maybe, just maybe, this could be a good thing. Showing for next year, single-handedly maybe saving Greg Gard's job. That came up as well, how come Greg Gard's not on the hot seat? But really, in all honesty, seeing the young venture of this group is the big thing. So happy to see that, and see them growing. The one thing that's getting me is I know they want Mr. Hepburn to be kind of a dynamic shooter, dynamic player like Johnny Davis was. But the one and done 3-point shot with 2 minutes left to go has to go. Like, try for a drive, change it up a little bit, work it around. He consistently does this. I'm a little concerned about that. But we love what Steven's done now, too. If you get this as a whole, and you've got Siegen doing very well. You've got 14 and 11. I'll do my best on their names. But you guys are doing really well. Now it's to get some depth behind you. It would be really awesome. So excited to have you here with me. Let me know you're online. Say hi if you jump on. You are watching. What are we talking about, Jeff? And, you know, we go to the obvious. We're going to talk about Green Bay for just a little bit. And when I talk about that, know that I don't want to get into the aesthetics of how you feel about Aaron Rodgers or how your personal feelings are about Aaron Rodgers. I'll say mine if I really had to, but really, in all honesty, it's a business. Rodgers is going to go where the money is, where he thinks, you know, they're going to treat him a little better, I guess, or whatever, and he feels like he hasn't been treated well for a while. We've kind of known this, guys. Let's not beat around the bush. We've already known that Aaron wasn't happy completely, right? But, you know, the one thing he did do was try and get on that field and show out as much as he could. Last year reminded me of when Favre had a rough year with rookies as well. At least Favre stuck through that. It's a little weird that you get really good wide receivers and you want to run, that you want to retire. But, hey, let's see what Love can do now. Let's see what Jordan Love can do. The real future is that we started looking and realizing with Lazard gone and Tunyon gone, right, and Mercedes Lewis being touted to maybe go to the Jets as well for Rodgers. The Packers obviously need a tight end. They need a stand-up tight end as well, someone who can maybe get up in the slot and allow Jordan Love to spread the ball out as far as spread the lineup to give the style of running that we do a way to do it. Otherwise, you're going back to, you know, trying to pummel them with Dillon and nothing else. The linebackers are just queuing in on the running backs. We need a stand-up tight end. We probably do need an official number one, although Dobbs, I think, has the first dibs on trying to get there. So then you've got three solids that are literally like a couple years old, and your oldest guy is Damari. So, you know, I mean, they've had guys that they've had in the practice squad that they really loved over the time, too. So they're obviously not so concerned, but you'll probably see that in the draft. Tight end, wide receiver of some sort. I believe it was a Wisconsin outlet. I'm looking at my sports stuff right now, and I want to look local if I can. But it was a Wisconsin outlet that was pointing out that they need a veteran wide receiver. I think that's really wise. Is definitely look for a veteran wide receiver. Who? So it looks like, you know, Dalton Schultz from Dallas is available as well. As I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the NFL free agency rumors. Dalton Schultz wouldn't be a bad pickup. He can stand up in the slot too. And let's see where they're saying. Yeah, they're talking Packers as a number one fit. There you go. I totally would like that. I wouldn't hate that. I know there's some other options too. I was thinking, am I reading this wrong? I was just checking here, guys. Is it me or is Gesicki signed, didn't he? Mike Gesicki, I thought he signed with somebody. We'll have to look that up. Maybe I can look that up here. I'm going to look up right on over here and just get that right, because if I'm going to bring you information, it's going to have some knowledge behind it. Right? There he is. Okay, so what are they showing here? I get a lot of ads in the way too. So we're looking over here. This was the 13th. As of the 13th, he's still looking, and they're talking about the Giants. Let me look here real quick. Well, no, the Giants just traded for Waller, so right. I don't think Gesicki's going to go there. So there's another guy definitely that would be good for Jordan Love to have a stand-up tight end. I think we truly need that. Now, Tunyon wasn't bad. We could always bring him back. We could always, if he doesn't just go to the Jets too, right? Gesicki will probably sign with the Jets. That's if Rodgers finishes this deal. I get that funny feeling Gesicki will stay going up against Miami if he can and try and show Miami what they lost. So I think you're going to see that. That's just out of my mouth. We'll see what happens. I don't see the Packers, although, check this out. If they get the right picks, do you see the Packers going for Hopkins? Do you see a trade with the draft going after Hopkins, giving Arizona some draft picks and giving us that number one with big hands and teaching the young guys? You heard it here if it happens. All right, you heard it here if it happens. I don't know. We'll see you guys. That's long enough on there, I guess. I don't know. I don't see it being terrible. I think we have to shore up. Maybe safety's getting a little old. We moved on from Darnell Savage, Amos. Right, so we're going to need some safeties here, guys, because the cornerbacks, we're not going to expect Jair to hold the whole backfield. So we're going to need a hard hitter in there, and we're going to need a savvy guy, I think. If we can get that, our defensive line actually doesn't look terrible. We do need to stop the run better, and that's probably because we've gone to more athletic linebackers, as the whole league has. You're going to guys who are like 230, 220, even like safety size. They're not hitting like the big linebackers used to knock over a running back or to shed a guard, right? Or shed somebody pulling. So it's one of those things where either we get our safeties locked down, where we're getting a safety that makes a lot of tackles, Harrison Smith type from Minnesota that can make a lot of tackles. But again, you see what happens even with a team like Minnesota when your safety's the only guy making the tackles. That wore in on the Steelers as well. Without Frazier and some of those guys from the 2010s, 2000s Steelers, you started seeing that defense really rely on the safety. Same thing when Ray Lewis left, you had Ed Reed over at Baltimore. That defense was working hard. They had to try and refuel the linebackers and bring in big guys that could refuel the linebackers as well. So, that being said, either we start getting at least one bigger run stuffer, which was what Amos was supposed to be, was a decent run stuffer. And I don't know if Amos was really that. I think Savage should have been as well, and they really weren't as much. And I think that's where our run defense has an issue. If we can get to there, if we can solve that in the linebacking core, get one, dynamic tackler and maybe one more backup that can shed tackles at least. Because the secret is, can you shed the tackle and put more numbers by the ball? Safety-wise, linebacker-wise, I'd like to see that more, because our biggest issue was the run stopping. And I can't say it was all the linemen's fault. I really think it was missed tackles, no ability to shed blockers, because Clark's going to cause a pile. A couple of new guys that we got can cause a pile. Walker can definitely make some tackles. He's one of those guys that can shed blocks and make tackles. So, we have an upstart that can do that. Rashawn Gary can shed and make tackles, being focused more on the line now than as a linebacker. So, we're there. But I think you're going to, search for that one more tool, that one more piece that can do it when the other ones need rest. You all can email me. I got my email back, Geoff Landon, Geoff@geofflandon.com. You can email me there if you got any words to let me know or things you want me to talk about on my show. Jump out there. You can also jump online, like and subscribe. We'll put that down in here as well, right there. There you go. And you can jump up on our YouTube right here at DAHL Media. Click on any one of those if you can. That would be awesome. That should be coming down in the YouTube slides right there. If you guys got anything I can cover, let me know. You're watching What Are We Talking About, Jeff? we're not quite there yet. I still have a little bit more to talk about on the sports, so stick around with me. Here's to you, everybody. So I think I said my piece on the Packers. Rodgers is still got a lot to go. I'm going to move over to something I really like, you guys. We're going to talk about cars in our second half of the show, which I think is going to be a lot of fun for me. I hope you guys like cars too if you do. Speaking of cars, we'll stay in the sports side of it all. Wes Kuhn, you know this group. Probably get this stuff out of the way for you. Wes Kuhn, you know this group. The Hendricks Motorsports got nailed up. I'm going to bring this up for you on the sports side. Hendricks Motorsports got nailed up pretty hard. And if you notice, William Byron jumped up with 2 wins from Hendricks. And I thought it was interesting. I thought it was interesting that he hasn't lost position, even though they were taking away 100 points from a bunch of people. I guess there were some hoodloovers in question, and they've been dominating in the first 5 races. It's silly how dominating they've been. And Chevy in general has been dominating in the first 5 races. So Hendrick got the largest combined fine in history, and there was a couple other cars that were Chevys as well that got noticed for these hoodloovers. And so I can't imagine they're completely gaining speed on hoodloovers, but I could be wrong. But they haven't said anything. They've nailed Hendrick Motorsports with this fine, right? But they also pulled all of the crew chiefs and the crew chief of the 5th team, the 5th Chevy team. They pulled them for 5 races. So they're not going to have their crew chief for 5 races. Now, crew chief can be crucial in making proper decisions. I think you're going to get a lot of teaching this week for the backup, whoever that's going to be for each team. I think during the week, are they suspended too? Are these crew chiefs suspended all week where they're not going to have them to make decisions? Or are these crew chiefs only suspended for the race? That's what I'd like to know. I'm not sure on all of that. Josh Berry did a fine job getting inside the top 10 on his latest run at Phoenix. That was a big one for Hendrick as well. I'm a huge Chase Elliott fan, so I'm kind of jumping on the Hendrick news right now. But that's kind of a big deal to me. Now, wait a minute. Byron's got 2 wins, and he's only penalized some points, but he's in the lead because he's got 2 wins. So if points aren't even necessarily assessed, he's in with wins. You're not going to, take away the wins. You're not going to... Is that too much? Is that too extreme? Are you going to take away the wins on William Byron? I don't know. You're docking him points, but do points affect the person who's in the lead for the wins? Or tied for the wins? I'm looking at some of the news here. Just want to make sure I'm on it. But, Denny Hamlin got in trouble as well for starting a beef in the middle of the race, which I think it was Stenhouse. I was trying to remember who it was. But so that's NASCAR news from my end. I think these penalties are going to be something. They have a headline here from Sportscasting. Hendrick Motorsports has a potential to dominate in 2023 Cup Series season, but likely won't. Well, especially if they get slapped upside the head by NASCAR every other week for what they consider might be quick cheating or whatever. But you have what happened with Ross Larson going around the wall. They make that illegal this year, but they waited the whole season. You've got 4 teams doing the same thing, 5 teams doing the same thing here, and you want to stem it right now. It's kind of interesting. I mean, it used to be like when you had the Super B back in the day, and you had, when cars would change, it would take most of the season to sit here and decide, you know what, they have a clear advantage. Are you saying that after these 5 races, now you see that hood louver at 1 race and you're saying that's the issue from the last 5 races? Because again, if that's true, you're hitting up a team and you're going to tell them that they're still allowed into the playoffs right now. You don't hit up their wins, nothing like that. So that's interesting to me. We're getting into it on our first 20 minutes, everybody. Like I say, like and subscribe. Find us out there at DAHL Media. That's what you're watching. It's been awesome. We made it through our 13th. We made it through our 13th episode. We're now on the 14th episode. I'm so happy about that. Like I said, I'm not superstitious, but it's kind of cool where you put a milestone on stuff. Seasons for TV shows can tend to run about 16 or so. So I'm just really proud of where we're sitting. Love to see you guys get out there and tell me your opinions on this stuff. If you're watching this stuff, don't just watch for 5 seconds. Get out here and watch me do this thing, because I think it's stuff that, you know, if you're from Wisconsin, you like it too. We're going to talk about more artists coming up as well. We're going to have a venue of the day. Stick around with us, y'all. It's a good time.
So I'll tell you, the things they want to talk about, the things I want to talk about are kind of crazy. It's stupid stuff in Jeff's head for 200, Alex. What are we talking about, Jeff?
Dang.
That's right, you guys. Like and subscribe down there and hit the bell if you want to find out when I'm on. You can also find that out on Facebook too. You just kind of make sure you're following and get any updates when I'm coming to you. So jump out there, get on it, get busy. I need you guys out here. Too much coffee today. Too much coffee. Might need to eat lunch and get this thing knocked out a little bit. I got my vitamin D. I'm doing pretty good today, guys. Thank you for jumping out there. You can find me at Geoff Landon Music on Facebook as well. So come on out there. Tell me what you think. Coming up, we're going to talk about some car stuff. I like watching car shows like Donut Media, and there's a group out there called Ideal Cars, Ideal Media as well, and they even talk about each other a little bit too, which is kind of nice, you know, seeing they could be competitors in their choices and things they talk about. There's a gentleman named Brad Danger on the show. This is the guy we're going to watch one today, and I'm going to kind of sit back and kind of comment on how I feel about it, and maybe even pause and jump in with you guys. I've also got these new little setups where I can come right in your face. Right at you. So I hope you don't mind. I'm testing out all this stuff. I'm literally my own producer. So if there's anybody in Wisconsin Rapids that wants to get an experience on doing podcasting from a production standpoint, we could really use that. So you can find me at geofflandon.com and just let me know. Not that I'm overly hiring, but if you want some experience in this would be great. Then I don't have to run all this stuff. But it is kind of fun. Boom. All right. We don't pre-tape right now. I'm doing a lot of live stuff so I can run it and ride it. But what we're going to get into today is our friends over at Ideal Media. All right. So let's see if we can pop that up for you. Ideal Media, where are you? I have you in my sights. Bang. So this will be a comment section kind of a thing. Like my friend Bren Cooper, I would say friend. If she knows me, that's awesome. But yeah, this is going to be comments on Ideal Media's video of 15 dumb car myths and how they bust them. And they do a really great job of editing that, you know, you almost envy and want to do on your own show and all that great stuff. But what we're going to do is we're going to sit back, kind of watch what they're going to say, and I'm going to kind of throw my opinion on it too. If you've never seen Brett Cooper, then you should check her out as well. But so you can see how this kind of style is going to work. On that note, On with the show. That's right. Here we go.
Are you an idiot? I am. And I'm willing to bet that even if you aren't, you believe something pretty stupid.
Earth is
Flat.
the Earth is flat.
Because we all do. So in an effort to make us all less dumb together, I'm going to dispel a bunch of really popular car myths. Starting with what is probably one of the most pervasive myths in the high school car club.
I mean, seriously,
adding a cold air intake
that?
makes your car faster. No, it doesn't. First of all, most cold air intakes you buy on eBay are more like warm air intakes with a crappy filter. And even if the box says that it's a real cold air intake, just about every YouTube car builder has proven that these don't really add very much power.
Fast and Furious guys, right?
Mighty Car Mods even made a whole series about it.
So it's 132.5 kilowatts. So that is the number to beat, or to be beaten by.
Motor Trend tested dozens of filters and found that a salad bowl from Walmart was better than a K&N. I'm not saying they don't add any power, but if the listing online tells you that it adds 15 horsepower, you can probably expect a third of that. Speaking of going faster, I bet your redneck Uncle Earl always tells you that there's no replacement for displacement while driving around in his old Chevy Aveo. Well,
drives around in an
Uncle
old
Earl,
Chevy
right?
Aveo.
Muscle
That's
car
your Uncle
meatheads
Earl. It looks
love
like that
repeating
dude.
this
I don't know.
tired old cliche, but the truth is, in the modern world, there is a replacement for displacement. It's called a turbo.
Don't tell Dom that.
Look,
course they show a
engines
Fast
are
and Furious
basically
style
air
car.
pumps, and making them bigger, yes, does make them suck more. But so does a little turbo. And most of all, a turbo is more efficient than making a bigger engine. So I'd actually call that a pretty good replacement for displacement. Now here's a hot
it's
take.
just learning how to do it all for
While we're talking
yourself,
about
right?
engines and turbos, I'm going to tell you that the Mark IV Supra is not a supercar.
You're right.
Look, I get it. It was in a cool movie, and every single one you see on YouTube has 7,000 gorillion horsepower.
Look at this guy.
But
That's
all
my
this
wife
media
in the
attention on the
passenger seat.
Supra has made all you
To be
kids believe
honest
that a
with you
Mark
right
IV
now,
Supra
I
can make
think
1,000
we would do.
horsepower with nothing but a laptop and a coat hanger.
Yeah.
It's all right.
It'll work.
It's like you think the Supra is magic or something. Look, the Mark IV Supra was a great car like 25 years ago. And if you put 50,000 bucks under the hood, it'll go fast.
They don't make them
but
anymore, people.
so will a Civic.
That's true. That's true.
I'm not saying the 2JZ GTE is a bad engine. It's one of the greatest engines of all time. But I think
talk
all
about
of
it
you
all the
dudes
time.
in the comments really need to learn what it actually takes to make proper power even out of a 2J. It ain't easy.
Yeah,
Now,
if
the
you got a
new
sponsor
Supra,
and lots
that
of money.
definitely sucks, right? Because it's automatic. And automatics suck, right? Well, yes and no.
we all
They
drive
used
automatics.
to. 90s automatic transmissions were disasters. But today, modern 6-speed, 7-speed, 8-speed, 10-speed automatics are works of art. Look, I know it's our...
Yeah, now I'm going to pause it right there for a second. I got to tell you, I got a bad hip. So it's not like I'm driving more automatics, which really sucks. I really enjoyed driving manuals. But with the way they are nowadays, he's going to explain it. He's going to say it right. You'll get what I mean. All right.
our things. Save the manuals, buy the t-shirt, whatever. But it's not because manuals are faster anymore. It's because they're more engaging. They're more fun.
Right. They really are. I miss them.
But that doesn't mean you instantly have to gatekeep automatics. Automatics don't totally suck anymore. In fact, if your goal is to actually go fast, if you are concerned about lap times or quarter-mile times, a modern automatic is likely to get you there quicker. A computer and a machine is a lot faster than your limp wrist shifting around a little stick. Yes, old automatics suck, and you probably know that because you own an old-ass car. But a lot of
I like
people,
that
and
car.
I get
Stop
this in
it.
the comments and in my
like-
conversations
I
daily
drove
with
one.
people
Loved
think
it.
that
Fun
buying an
as all
old
get
car
out.
is
Does
a bad
not have
idea
to be
because
fast
they're
to be fun.
unreliable and will cost you more in the long term. Well, those people are mouth-breathing idiots.
Each one of these stickers adds 5 horsepower, so I'll let you do the math.
Look, I mean, I think pretty much every video we make, someone writes in the
Perfect. That
comments,
Kentucky
oh, these
plate.
cars are cheap, but you're gonna go broke on the maintenance. Ooh. And look, like, I have never owned a new car car, not even anything close to new. Some of my most reliable used purchases had over 200,000 miles on them. I had a 91 Nissan 240SX with over 300,000 miles on it that I drifted. And I never needed to do more than an oil change.
If you can work on a car, you should.
Sure, I've also had some lemons. I had a Land Rover that needed a $2,000 repair here and there.
No doubt, no doubt. You know, I have to tell you guys, the one thing that always gets me, I think I said this last show, and the one thing that always gets me is if you go to buy a car, if you're the type of person that has a car and doesn't even know what's under the hood or what it does, like partially, at minimum to change a tire, for God's sake, you should buy the simplest car you can get, and then you want something that's totally reliable, totally, known for, if you're going to pay for it, it's going to take care of you for miles and miles and miles and miles. I get that. If your dad is, showed you how to keep a maintenance schedule and make sure you drove it over and paid your $60-some in oil change, great. Then keep spending that money on somebody else's time so you can get yours done. I get that. We're not all built to be mechanics, but literally to have a car, literally to own a home, we learn how to do at least the basics, right? Like simple plumbing, fix the toilet when it's going shh, right? It's those kind of things that once you own something and you become an adult here, folks. Here's your Uncle Jeff here again. Advice from your Uncle Jeff. When you become an adult and you learn how to do some of these simple things, you start figuring out that you can save money and do it well. I mean, you literally start learning in life as a human being. You start learning things that, if you're just not good at it, it's because your focus is somewhere else in life, most likely, right? And hopefully it's making you money to keep you going, right? But in this case, like, you should, if you're going to own a car, and really kind of care about what kind of car you drive, then you should know how to do an oil change. You should probably be able to scrunch underneath that thing and pull the oil plug and put the pan underneath to catch the oil and know how to take a filter off, all that stuff. You should know how to change a tire. Simplest is go have them mount the tires and you put it on. Just certain things. If you really have that much of an opinion about a car, you're going to know how to do stuff with it. And if you're going to sit here and tell me that you're going to have a problem trying to do your own oil change or whatever, you got to be kidding. This guy says it well. We'll go back to him. My apologies. Let's do it. Here you go.
If I spend $2,000 repairing my $4,000 car, I've spent $6,000.
Exactly.
How much is a new Accord?
Exactly.
30 grand? And you're worried about maintenance. It's a lot of work and it's trouble. Well, you're going to go buy a new car?
Yeah.
Ask YouTube girlfriend how reliable her brand new Jeep is. Try owning a brand new BMW. Are you thinking about buying that new Z? It's the first generation. I bet it's going to have some issues.
Right.
Look, all old cars were at some point new. So if a new car is really reliable, if it's taken care of, it will be reliable as an old car. They're the same frickin' car. Look, I think this whole argument is just code for you lazy idiots who bought a brand new car for 50 grand and lost $20,000 in value in the first 5 years and want to, harp on old cars because you wish you bought one. So yeah, that myth is mostly perpetrated by old dudes with a lot of money. Just like maybe this next one. Have you ever been told by your grandpa that seatbelts and airbags are actually not safe? I think we in the under 50 generation understand that
I heard that when I was a kid.
But there was a lot of fear around the explosiveness of an airbag breaking your spine.
More for short people and kids.
Trapping you in the car in an accident. But luckily, there's this thing called math and numbers and statistics. And they tell us that a seatbelt can reduce the mortality rate in an accident by up to 75%.
Yeah, I mean,
wow,
if we're not
a single, simple invention that reduces mortality by 75%. If only we had something like that for disease.
Beats the alternative.
No one would fight against that, right? Anyway, yeah, seatbelts and safety equipment might not be that controversial anymore. What is now controversial, and I know this because I did a whole video about it and we did tons of research, is saying that electric vehicles are better for the environment than combustion vehicles.
Yeah,
and look, I know a bunch of you don't believe me and don't trust me because I'm an idiot. And you're right. But what about Engineering Explained?
We are,
Donut,
but
the SciShow, Auto Trader, and like
you're perfect.
every scientist on the planet? The thing
Right.
is, there is just a little bit of truth to the myth that EVs are worse than gas cars. But if you look at the lifetime of an EV, in as little as 10,000 miles, an EV leaves a gas car in the dust in terms of impacts to our planet. And it's fine. I'm down for shaming EVs.
Well-
They're kind of boring. They're not that exciting. A lot of them are ugly. They're super heavy. There's a lot of reasons to hate EVs. But you guys that argue...
Yeah, I think if you look at the numbers, folks, there's plenty to worry about in the interim. We are in the stage with electrics. I totally get this. I totally get this. You know, people are concerned in the political side of it. It's one of their debates. It's one of the things they hold on to. It's one of the things, one of the major debates in life. You have the abortion debate, you have the gun law debate, you have, you know, electric to gas. And it becomes something that they talk about. And it's also a pitching point that when you're trying to hide other things, you toss that one out to tick people off, because you have a big enough crowd that has a problem with what you're talking about that it causes enough stir to blind people from other things. So this is one of those debates that is never ending. There will be many people on one side, many people on the other. And when you talk about gas and electric and those kind of things, it's just another one of those debates. So that being said, what he's talking about here, you know, I'm not immune to the idea of a car getting me from point A to point B, as well as having fun with it, right? But I'm also not taking it to the track as often as maybe even some of these guys do on these videos. And yeah, there's a dream in the back of my head that says, I'm going to be a track driver. Now, I have friends, Mike Mashonsky, Troy Johnson. These guys get out on a track. You know, these guys go race, and it's pretty freaking cool. And I can only imagine what they would have to say in a lot of this. And most of them will tell you gas is the way to go because it's a driver feel. You have control over the vehicle. When it's an electric feel, you still have steering control, but speed control becomes an interesting thing because electric, it doesn't feel like the gas control. And so it's a whole new thing to get used to. So when it comes to racing, I get it. Electric is going to be a problem. But when it comes to getting to point A to point B and being able to get out of, like when you're being boxed in by a semi, or you're trying to get on the freeway in clean amount of time and less issues, you know, electric's probably going to get you there in the long run. It's not meant for long drives, but long drives, you're probably the most fuel efficient. So I think it's right. There was another gentleman who said, get on the idea that it's going to be hybrids. It's going to be hybrids because if you're going to want to go a long distance and keep traveling the same amount of time, you're not going to sit there for a half hour to 2 hours waiting for your car to charge when you're trying to drive from Wisconsin to Florida. My dad, if he was coming from Arizona to Wisconsin for his restaurants, he's got to get to that restaurant. He's not, you know, otherwise he'd fly. In the end, he would fly. So you're going to still find hybrids are going to be the thing, especially if you're a person who drives long distances. If you get into middle of the city, yeah, you'll probably get more electric cars. It's going to be interesting what it's going to do to the dynamic. I think, to me, what the dynamic's going to be when it comes to how people live. Now, in the inner city, you'd find guys who could fix a car in the alley, right? And so you'd see these kind of beat up cars that were being saved and going because they were the hands-on guy like me, but they'd fixed it in their alley. You may see a lot less of that with electric cars. So yeah, let's say it cleans up the neighborhood when it comes to car parts laying around and people wanting to work on their cars, which does take the ability to, you know, get to work turn into a problem here. You know, you're talking about people who live on the border of poverty and above that. So you're talking about probably the first 30% of people who like to work on their vehicles, who also have probably saved their vehicle to get them to work regularly for almost a year before they have to buy a real one, right? Some guys who are getting, so does that help the homeless population? Does it help the other side? It gets you out of being, it could actually affect that. But I think, again, it's temporary. It's as a society learning how to work with something new, especially when you've gotten used to, as a society, teaching the next generation how to keep going. I mean, we see it everywhere in social media, the idea of life hacks. Well, there'll be new life hacks. We'll have a lot more life hacks. Some of them aren't even good life hacks. They're not even hacks. They're just stupid. But you're going to get those few things that will, show you how to get through an electric car. Or, the question is can they make electric cars to be safe enough to work on? Is there that possibility? Like I said, my son asked me, he says, I want to be a mechanic someday, Dad. And I said, go learn electronics. Go learn electronics, because that's probably the only way you're going to do it. But I think the hybrid thing could be the way it goes. So that being said, we'll get back to our video here. Stick around with me, you guys. This is Ideal Media we're watching. Check it out. Bam.
At this point, are completely off base. And I think there's enough to hate about EVs that we don't need to argue this specific point. And look, I love gas cars, but global warming is going to kill us. It's going to kill all of us. What's not going to kill you is your cell phone. Remember that?
If global warming, if it is attributed to storms and stuff like that, I mean, think about it. If right now there's a group of people that think that global warming is what's causing some of these wicked storms and these wicked changes in our, which it may be, that'll kill us before the world ends. Think about it like that. But if we think we're going to stop this stuff, we're not. That's a whole nother subject I'm not going to get into. You guys are watching DAHL Media, and what are we talking about, Jeff? I'm into my third 20. We're going to save more of this video for the next section of our show. Stick around with me. Love you guys. You're watching DAHL Media.
So I'll tell you, the things they want to talk about, the things I want to talk about are kind of crazy. It's stupid stuff in Jeff's head for 200, Alex. What are we talking about, Jeff?
Dang. That is so right. Hi, guys. Still going at it right here with you. Geoff Landon from DAHL Media. And what are we talking about, Jeff? All types of cool stuff to go here. We're holding on to right now in the second half of the show, and now we're moving into the third half. We were watching Dumb Car Myths Busted, and we got into the electric car debate. So it's... there was something I wanted to talk about on that. Before I say that, like and subscribe. Find us on YouTube at DAHL Media. Let me show you that real quick. DAHL Media, the DM, you're looking for that. DAHL Studios on Facebook. And we are DAHL Media Studios in Wisconsin. I usually talk about things that happen in Wisconsin quite a bit. We talked about sports earlier on in the show. Usually the local Wisconsin stuff too. If you guys are out there, you guys watch this evening, even anything like that, I'm going to start running evening shows as well. So a lot of you that are working during the day who can't watch this can get on and make your opinions known. I need you guys. This makes no difference without you. So please do jump on there and see what you can do to have some fun with me and really kind of stir up conversation. I think this is what it's about. I mean, you could sit at a local bar and talk to some guy who's drinking a beer down, or you could come on here and just hang out with me. I think that would be pretty awesome. So, I'm a car freak without, I'm not quite Jason Priestley or Jay Leno or anything like that, but I really, have my own view on what I like for cars, and no, it's not really hated, which I love. I kind of enjoy tinkering with cars, having a little bit of fun. I get to show my son how to change a tire and show him the struggles of getting stuff done. But when you get it done and you finish, how accomplished it can be. So I know sometimes it can be late at night, but like I'll get done at like 10 at night and he'll be getting ready to go to bed. And like I do an oil change and I'm like, hey, I'm going to take the car for a quick ride, make sure everything's going good. Come on, like I want to show them that when I started this process and how it feels after you're done, that you finished it, nothing's leaking, everything looks good, the tires are back on, or I did a spring in one car where I didn't want him in the room when I was putting the spring in so he didn't get hurt. But I, brought him back in to put the tire back on. And when we dropped it, we went and test drove it, make sure it didn't go crazy. But of course, with him in the car, you're trying to be safe too. I'm not going to take him out on something that I feel like would be completely unsafe. You know what I mean? So when I do brakes, I'll take a small test myself, and when I feel they're fairly strong, I'll take him along with me and let him feel the brakes and how I test them out and stuff like that. And that really kind of gets the car worked in before, say, the wife has to take it to work on occasion or whatever, or if I'm consistently going to be driving the 2.5 hours that I drive. I guess I became a car guy that way, that my job involves driving. And so knowing that about cars, knowing their efficiency, knowing what I can do, those little things help you in life, right? So to me, I just love that about cars. And I think, anything that kind of creates a memory for you, you stick to. For me, it was Thunderbirds. For whatever reason. Yet I won't look at like older Thunderbirds and go, oh, I gotta have it. But I do know the designs, and I do love seeing them because it's a car that I've always been interested in, even though it was a different generation I was interested in. So it's like a Civic guy who drives a modern Civic and then looks back in the 70s and goes, well, that one was pretty cool too. Like they have a lineage. And so I don't hate, the Thunderbird lineage moving from, it's probably because it's how I drive. I love thinking about driving fast, but I probably love checking out the scenery and enjoying the drive. And I think, to me, the lineage of a car like a Thunderbird was exactly that. Was you could feel like a race car driver, but you'd enjoy the drive too. Cake and eat it too, I guess, as everybody's feeling sometimes. So, guys, if you got stories like that, ladies too, don't mind you if you guys want to chime in as well. I say guys in a general term. Sorry about that. I'm still old school that way. But you can email me at jeff@jefflandon.com for that kind of stuff. You can also go out there at dullmedia8117 @gmail.com. That's the Dull Media one. So we were talking about Ideal Media is one of those car online shows, and I was kind of doing a comments type video today in our sessions. And so we'll bring that back up so when you're watching it, you know what you're watching. They're doing a myths video, common, they call it dumb car myths busted. All right, so we'll go back to that right now. Yeah, check it out.
That show, Mythbusters, it's a really great show. And one thing they tried to do was blow up a gas station with a cell phone. They couldn't do it. That myth was busted. And yet every time you go to a gas station, there's a sign saying no cell phones. And if you pull out a phone and answer a text message, some gas station worker tackles you. You'd think that the guys that work there would actually know the truth, but they don't.
And then what? I know, I'm just trying to see how I do it. And then what, this, you put it in there?
Yeah, put it in.
Because look, when I'm pumping my gas, I want to be left alone, in peace, swiping on Tinder, doing what I gotta do. Speaking of gas pumps, don't put premium gas in your car if it doesn't need it. It costs more. The number is higher. It's better for my car.
This is a
right?
common one right
you
here.
Might
Yeah.
your car a special little treat when you put 91 in it.
If you didn't know, folks, be
just
careful.
do not
I mean,
need the
there's
higher
also
octane.
the
And just like
ethanol
spending
thing,
a bunch
but-
of money on a fancy latte, you're basically just pouring money down the drain. And look, I understand this myth is more relevant today than ever thanks to these gas prices. So don't waste your money on premium gas. And definitely don't waste money idling your car in the morning to warm it up. This is a myth that has stuck around for a long time because it used to be.
My wife is guilty of this. Sorry, honey, I'm throwing you under the bus right now. She had a Dodge Ram the last few years, and it kept the hours of engine idle as well as the hours of drive time in the computer. So you could look it up on your dash, how many hours of idle and hours of drive time. And there was a point there, she still, like, there was a while there where she had 20 hours. It was, the first few times we were using the truck, like I'd say the first year, she had 20 hours of idle time and 18 hours of drive time. And I was just like, oh, I don't know if you know the significance of that, especially the fact that on that Dodge, somebody could point that out. And it's so scary, like, to think that somebody can see that you idle your car. But she needs to be warm, and that's okay. Love you, honey. It's all right. So it's one of those things that I had to say that you don't have to idle it. If you can deal with temperature, if you can deal with being cold just for a little bit and not like leave your defrost on high the whole time. Oh my goodness. People wonder why cracks happen in the lower portion of your windshield. My wife has been pretty lucky with this, but she tends to also bleed it down to the floor as well. So you get floor and top. She can't stand air in her face. And I totally get that. I'm the type that likes a little bit of blowing air. So I try to set it like an AC unit with auto if I can get it. Or at least to a level where I adjust the temperature in small increments once I'm warmed up, where I can just kind of cool down the room a little bit, turn up the room. It's literally like at 12 o'clock, 11 and 1, right? It gets a little warm at 1. I'll come back to 11 and bring it back down. But most of the time I can keep it about noon and I won't feel much. Just depends on the temperature outside of the car, right? But that's me. For her, she's always cold. So it's going to be on high, up in the 80s in the car if she can have it, because it's her car, she's driving, she gets it. Totally get that. But it's true, this warming up of your car can actually be kind of brutal. If you're using it as a heater generator to keep your car warm, that's your choice. But it is kind of brutal on the mileage, the overall mileage of the car. And don't know how else to state that fact, but it's true. All right, back to the vigil.
Be true.
Hey, sir.
Before modern engine oils and before modern computers, a car's engine did need to come up to temp and be lubricated to run efficiently before you started driving it. Nowadays, though, it's just not needed. In fact, if you open up your owner's manual in a new luxury car, it'll probably tell you not to do this. But, you know, who reads an owner's manual anymore? Do the cars even come with those anymore, or is it just like a PDF? And because you don't read your own...
Yeah, he's right. Okay, he's right. Do cars come with owner's manual? Back in the day, owner's manuals used to tell you how to change your spark plugs. They used to tell you how to do things in your car. And so owner's manuals were a big deal. Like, okay, don't go farther than this. Now take it to your dealer. It was basically the owner's manual was like, here's how far you can go. And they still, I mean, fuses are a big deal. If you can deal with those, it shows you where all of those are. Relays, things like that for your headlights that are like high powered type stuff. You usually use relays instead of fuses. And so it's those kind of things that are still in there. We're still valuable, but really to learn how to use your radio, where to find your headlights. Okay, that can be hard for some people. Windshield wipers, where to find them. Okay, you run through that the first few times, you're fine. But do you really look through an owner's manual after like the first time anyway? But like back in the day, you could use your owner's manual to fix problems. Now in troubleshooting, it'll tell you to turn the car on and off and see if the computer was the problem. And if it's not, go to your dealer. So every like default troubleshooting is literally turn the car on, turn the car off, try to start the car. And if it doesn't work, go to your dealer. That's an owner's manual troubleshooting now. There's really no, wave to it. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me get back to you on this.
You don't have anything going on, neither do I. Let's do one more.
Yeah,
you know
right.
That American car
Nothing going on here.
The pride of your forefathers. Henry Ford fought the Germans to make that car for you. You cornbread-eating, grass-fed, free-range American who buys American cars for Americans and drinks American gasoline. Well, I hate to break it to you. Henry Ford loved the Germans. And your Chevy isn't made in America,
we knew
probably. There's two ways to interpret that. One is that no car is made in America. No car is made in any single country. All cars are made of parts from around the world. A lot of electric parts are made in Mexico and China.
Yeah,
and
you're
a lot
putting
of metal
your
parts come
political
from
nature
Germany
in there,
and
what we
Canada.
actually
Some
need.
engine assemblies come from India. Infotainment systems come from Korea. Honestly, it's impossible to track where all of the parts of your car come from. Likely whatever you're driving is made from hands across the entire world. Which means your car is a worldwide effort, which actually makes it pretty cool. But even if we limit to where the car is assembled, most American cars fall pretty short. Ford actually does assemble most of their cars in the US. But Chevy? Most of those are assembled in Mexico.
Do a lot in Canada,
Unless they're
too,
the older trucks, those are Canadian. Dodge
Right,
is a
right,
total
see?
parts bin crapshoot. And most Jeeps are Fiats. Probably why YouTube Girlfriends breaks down a lot.
I'm guilty.
In an interesting twist, if you want to buy a proper American assembled car, get yourself a Toyota Tundra or a Subaru Outback. Made in Texas and Indiana. All right, that's the end of the video.
Yeah.
What myth did you believe until you saw this? Or what myth did I leave out? Of course, you're really smart and you knew all of them, so let me know in the comments that you knew everything.
Yeah.
You're so genius.
So there you
Anyway,
go.
I've been the
Ideal
Squid.
Media.
This is Ideal Cars.
Thanks for
Subscribe,
watching me, you
like,
guys.
Buy a shirt, visit the blog.
That's pretty crazy. There's a lot of good ones in there. You know, we were talking about the electric car myths and things like that. And I think one of the things that gets me is the idea of, you know, I'd love to see it. I've seen it with one guy who did it, and that is taking a electric engine and mounting it to what's already a, you know, transmission. The question would be how difficult it would be to clutch, you know, a transmission, but you could like leave it in like third or fourth and just let it go, you know. Maybe reduce down to using 2 gears out of the whole thing, and your clutch would have to be triggered to an off switch for the electric engine, maybe, you know, and the engine would just stop. You could shift, and then the engine would just start again. It would just come down to the play and timing between the startup of the engine, so it wouldn't just tear a clutch to pieces. I think that's the big thing. And or do you just get, you know, like a single transmission too? But now you're talking a lot. When they can do conversions, there's a guy, like I said, who did a conversion where he just took an electric engine, put it on, married it to the transmission, and it works just fine. You know, you just don't make the horsepower blow through the whole thing. Anyway, so that was a myth video on my comments and reactions. Pretty crazy. I'm Geoff Landon with DAHL Media, and you're watching What Are We Talking About, Geoff? Thanks a lot, guys. Going to the new episode real soon. Later.
So I'll tell you,
Dang.
that's kind of it.